Hey cousins, what's up? So, I just want to get into a little bit of astrology, a little bit of a vision that God gave me, and just talk about timelines and quantum leaps and faith, just a bunch of different things. Okay, so we're going to get into it. I'm just going to try to keep this as sweet as possible. I am very long-winded. I talk in circles, but if you stay with me, I promise you, you're going to get something out of this. I'm going to try to keep my head tilted down in a way that we don't have a reflection on the glasses, because that drives me nuts. But so I woke up this morning at the 3 a.m. hour, right? Which is not unusual for me. That is usually like my waking hour. But as I was laying in bed, usually when I wake up, the first thing I do is I'm like, thank you, God, for another day. And, I go through this whole prayer, this whole little meditative state of trying to get into the energy of the day, or praising the Most High for another opportunity to seize the day in a way that is going to be beneficial to me. I don't always get it right, but that's what I do. So I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about this past year. And I'm not talking about like January 1, just like over the last year, from August of last year to August of this year, and just all the things that I have personally experienced. Some of it directly, some of it indirectly. But I know that I'm not the only one. This is like a collective thing that people are going through. And it's this energy of feeling like, man, times have been rough. I've been through a lot. I've been through some heavy shit. And I can see why some of the things had to happen. And when I say I feel like I'm speaking for not just myself, but for others. So take it how it resonates. So there's like this energy of, man, gone through some heavy stuff. And while I'm not completely out of it, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And so I did a video maybe a couple weeks ago about jumping timelines and reaching new heights and stuff like that, just based off our choices, making different choices that will put you on a timeline that leaves some of this stuff behind. So the vision and the analogy that God was giving me in regards to timelines and moving past one timeline and getting to another timeline, elevating like quantum leaps. The vision was, or the analogy was, two cargo ships. All right. And if you've ever seen a cargo ship at a port or whatever, or just out, on the water, they are huge. They are massive. That's how, our importing and exporting is done. All of our goods are, come on cargo ships. Not all of them. Some of them are on planes, but you get what I'm saying. Like all the shit that we get from China or wherever you are in the world, like that's, our stuff is on a ship. So these two massive ships going in different directions. Now one ship, even though it's a cargo ship, it's a smaller size ship, and that's the ship that we're on, right? And it's something about being on that ship that innately you just know it's time for me to get off this ship. I cannot stay on this ship because there's some type of threat. There's people on this ship that want to do me harm. The resources on this ship are running out. There's something negative about being on that ship. It's going in the wrong direction. Like, it's time to get off this ship. I have to, like, there's an urgency to get off this ship. And luckily, there's a much larger cargo ship coming your way. And that's the other timeline. So the smaller ship is one timeline that you're currently on, and the larger cargo ship is the new timeline. Now, because these are ships, they can't come up together flush, right? There's going to be a gap in between, and because they're going in separate directions, and one's much larger than the other, how do I get on that ship with both ships moving? Okay. And this big gap in between. How do I get on this ship? Because on this other ship, is more resources, less threat, things like that. And so, and we're going to get into the astrology of this, but I just want to give this analogy. Some people are going to be able to get on the ship and achieve leaping onto this new timeline. Some are not. And that could be for various reasons. They don't realize that the ship that they're on is sinking. They don't realize that the ship that they're on is going the wrong direction. They are just unaware of the threats on the current ship. And so they're just like, in la 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 la, in la la land. But the awakened ones, the ones with awareness, know that they have to get off this ship, because if I don't get off this ship, I'm just going to be floating into the abyss. I'm just going to float into the end of flat earth and fall off, and nothing's going to change. That's going to be my demise. But if I get on this other ship that's going in the direction that I need it to go, that I'm desiring to go, with all those resources, with all those people, community, and access to new cargo that will be beneficial to the timeline that I'm trying to be on. If I don't get on that ship, that's what I just need to be on that ship. So how do you get on the ship? And what I was seeing was the two ships passing, right? Again, going in opposite directions, one much bigger than the other. And so there's ladders on coming down off of that ship. And people going to the edge of the smaller ship and realizing, wow, that's a big gap. And if I jump, I may not make it. And that's where fear and stagnation and paralysis kicks in. And there's already people on that ship, on that timeline, that's saying, you can do it. I did it. You just have to jump. And your faith has to kick in. Your courage has to kick in. Your even a delusion that I'm some type of superhero and I have some type of flying capabilities has to kick in. And you have to go to the end of the smaller ship, take a leap of faith, jump this huge big gap, not knowing if you're going to make it and fall into the ocean, or are you going to be able to actually achieve grabbing onto the ladder and climbing up onto this new ship, onto this new timeline. And there's going to be people, again, that make it onto the ship or are already on the ship, and they're like, you can do it, Keita. You can do it, John. You can do it, Bobby. Come on, Chris. You can do it. They're cheering you on. They're waiting for you. They're even reaching out their hands and saying, I got you. But if your faith and your courage isn't big enough to make that leap, and your trust isn't there in yourself or in the people who are reaching down for you or reaching back for you, then you're not going to make that leap. And it was an analogy of, because where you're going, everyone is not going to be able to come with you. Okay, so the ones who have that courage and that faith to make that leap are the ones who are destined to be on that timeline. And the ones that don't, they just can't come with you. And some of those people are going to be friends and family and loved ones, romantic partners. They're just not going to come with you. And it may be by design that they can't come with you. Because perhaps if they stay on that ship, yes, there are threats on that ship, and the resources may be dwindling on that ship. It may be harder to be on that smaller ship, but there could be another ship that comes further on down the road or down the waters that once they have built up the courage, they can get on that ship. And that's the timeline that they are supposed to be on. All right. So that was the vision, the analogy that God was giving me. And this ties into Saturn in Aries. And then now that Saturn is retrograde, and it's going to retrograde back into Pisces. I'm going to pause it here, and I'm going to pick up the video and explain what that is. I did a couple videos about a month ago about what Saturn in Aries means and what it means for where Aries is in your chart. So I'm gonna pause it here and I'm gonna pick it back up. But yeah, like if you're ready to get on that ship, you're gonna have to take a leap of faith. Okay, guys? I hope you got something out of that, because it really did touch me. Like, okay, that's how God talks to me. He gives me, and I say he, but God, to me, God is gender neutral. It's an energy, okay? But God talks to me in analogies, okay? And that's how I'm able to make sense of things. But I'll see you on the next video.